All right, so an object in Unreal is just a series of vertex points that are connected with edges and then filled in with faces. But we can see it doesn't actually have any kind of material on it. This is just the default material. So we need to construct a material for our object. So we're going to access the content drawer and we're going to hit Control Space to do that. And we can hold that down and let go. It's going to bring it up. Now I can go back up here to the all folder and we can see we've got content and we've got the engine data. So I'm going to go into content and here's the starter content that we added. And I'm going to right click and I'm going to choose new folder and I'm going to call this my stuff. Remember, no spaces. Now I'm going to double click, go inside my stuff, and now I'm going to right click and say new material. So this is create basic asset and we want to create a new material. And I'm going to call this M underscore simple material. Now I'm going to double click and this is going to bring up a new window. This is the material editor. And I like to grab it and bring it up and dock it up here so it takes up the full screen. Now we can move this graph around, and what this object here in the center is this is the material shader. So this is going to compile all the information that we give it, and then this will calculate the lighting data and is going to output what the object looks like. So the first thing we want to do is we want to assign a base color. So we just want to decide, hey, what color is this cube? And we need to do that by assigning an RGB value. And an RGB value is going to have three individual values that will determine base color. And so that's going to be what we call a constant 3. So I'm going to hold down the number 3 and I'm going to left click right here on my grid, and that's going to bring up the constant 3. And I can double click in the little black area and that's going to bring up my color picker. And I'm going to just choose kind of a nice shade of purple. And we want to always be sure that the value gets brought up because this will do the saturation of the color. This one is value. So let's bring that value up and get kind of a nice purple there. And we'll say okay. And then this is what's called a node editor. So we're going to take information and we're going to pipe it out from one node and plug it into another. So we want to take the white RGB value out of here and we want to plug it into base color here. And now on the left-hand side, you can see, let me change my, positioning there so you can see. So on the left-hand side, we can see that updating. So we've got a base color. The next thing that we want to think about with our textures is how rough are they? Inside of Unreal Engine, we think of roughness usually as a value between 0 and 1, with 0 being not really rough and 1 being completely rough. And now we can sort of think of this as like how reflective are they, how shiny they are. Different from metallic, we're thinking of things that are shiny. Something that is plastic can be quite shiny, but it's not metallic. Like your sunglasses can be plastic and quite shiny. Your couch is not at all shiny. So that's an example of something that's quite rough. So with roughness, we will specify that using one single value. So I'm going to hold down 1 and then I'm going to left click and that's going to enter a single value. And I'm going to plug that into roughness. And now you can see what's changed. I've got a value of 0, which means no roughness. So that's going to be a lot of shine and reflection. If I change this to 1, now that'll have no reflection. It's almost like it's got like a light coating of talc or something on it to where there's absolutely no light being refracted from it. And we can have values in between 0.5. If I go back to 0, we can see the reflection. Now, if I assign a single vector value here to the metallic value, now with this number, I can determine how metallic it is. And with metal, we don't really use a range. Objects are either metallic or not. So 0 would represent an object that's not metallic. If I change this value to 1, now this looks like a Christmas ornament. So now we've got purple base color. It is metallic. And it's got no roughness, so rather it's quite shiny. If I change that to 1, Now here's a metallic object, but it's completely rough. And if I go midway, we can see that looks more like a brushed metal sort of texture. So using these three parameters, we can sort of start to shape the base of what our objects are going to look like. So now I'm going to hit apply, and I'm going to hit save, and I'm going to come back here to my main map. Now to assign a texture, we simply drag and drop. So I'm going to control space, bring up my stuff drawer, and I'm going to grab my material, and I'm going to just drop it right on top of that object. And now when we move around, we can see that this has been applied. I can hit E, bring up the rotation tool, and we can see that we've got a quite shiny, quite reflective object. All right, that's Simple Textures.